Hello, welcome to Pamplona. We are here in the capital of Navarra and the second largest city of the greater Basque cultural region. This city is widely known for a variety of reasons today, including the famous Festival de San Fermín, when bulls and cows are launched on the crowded streets of the city to reach the bull ring. This folkloric event was made widely popular also thanks to the American novelist Ernest Hemingway, who lived there for a while and depicted the event in his The Sun Also Rises. At noon on Sunday, the 6th of July, the fiesta exploded. There is no other way to describe it. Those of you who participated in our immersion class on the footsteps of Ignatius, a class, a pilgrimage, and a retreat on the road through Spain and Italy that we at the Institute for Advanced Jesuit Studies offer every year, will surely recognize in this line of Hemingway our experience of Pamplona. This week, though, we reflect upon a very different kind of explosion, a crucial episode in Ignatius' life. The cannonball that was shot by the French army toward the fortress of the city in 1521 reached a 26-year-old Ignatius, who, as the hagiography say, bravely led the hopeless resistance of the Spanish troops to defend the sieged Pamplona. Ignatius was badly injured by the rolling ball and fell onto the ground. In the Pilgrim's Testament, Ignatius' autobiography, Ignatius put a cursory note that, like any other cursory note, is bound to attract the curiosity of us historians. After the fall of the fortress and the surrender of Spanish troops to the French, Ignatius says that the French treated the wounded man very well, with courtesy and kindness. After he, Ignatius speaks in the third person in his autobiography, had been in Pamplona for 12 or 15 days, they carries him home to his native land in a litter. Father Casey will talk about the concept of disruption and how this concept entered the mind of Ignatius, probably moving him toward an existential conversion, or as some say, a deliberation. What I would like you to note here, though, are two things. One, courtesy and kindness. These attitudes toward Ignatius did not originate out of a native sentiment as we might think. They were, once again, as you will remember my comments last week in Arevalo, were sophisticated codes that bound social practices at any occasion, even in battle, and especially with members of noble families, such as Ignatius was. Courtesy was mainly due, not only to the enemy, but especially to a wounded member of a noble family that had bravely acted in battle. Second, this courtesy, along with the privilege of being sent home in a litter, please read Bart Giger's comment and note in the Pilgrim's Testament on this, combines with the social geographical comment we might add, just as to put some spice on the historiographical account of Ignatius' life. The story tells us about the clashing between French and Spanish here, in a northern region of today's Spain. These clashes were constant throughout the 15th, the 16th, and the 17th century. Boundaries were not fixed at all. Nation and state nations were yet to come. This part of northern Spain is actually, and still very much felt today, a very independent society. Navarra and the Basque countries, the homeland of Ignatius, are culturally Basque, as the southern Pyrenees region of France is. Divided by a modern boundary that cut across the Pyrenees mountains, these regions have been way more permeable to each other throughout the centuries. They felt often as some kind of the same community. I hope to Professor and Father Bob Gerlich, Loyola University, New Orleans, currently visiting us at the Institute, a very nice conversation about the possibilities that these French troops, the autobiography talks about, could include also sorts of Basque people from either the modern French boundary or from cities on the southern slope of the Pyrenees, but governed with the loyalty to the French crown. Could this belonging to a shared community play any additional role on the decision of allowing Ignatius to go home for recovering? This makes me think about the tension that we experience when disruptions happen in our lives. Disruption often spurs us to feel as we are left alone, adding an emotional burden to the sufferance and pain that the disruption has caused to us. But Aristotle said human beings are social animals, and whatever happens to an individual, that happens to the community that individual is a member of. And depending on the level of belonging, sense of sharing, responsibility that keep us tight and loyal to each other, the disruption that occurs to a member begins to heal with the next by the community as a whole. Ignatius was not left alone in his pain that day on the walls of the fortress. On the contrary, he was taken care of and brought back home to Azpeitia, the tiny picturesque Basque town where I will see you on next week. Have a good time here in the plaza of Pamplona.
Well, hello, my fellow pilgrims. Welcome to Pamplona, the second destination in our journey with Ignatius, the virtual pilgrimage that we're making for these 12 weeks together as we close out 2022. I'm Father Casey Beaumier, Vice President and Secretary of the University and the Director of the Institute for Advanced Jesuit Studies here at Boston College. And along with Karen Kiefer, the Director of the Church in the 21st Century Center, and Melody Wittenbach, the Executive Director of the Rhodes Center for Catholic Education, all here at BC, we want to warmly welcome you to this beginning of week 2 of our virtual pilgrimage. Now, Pamplona is a very special place, and I'll say more about it building upon what you've heard from Professor Cristiano Castellini a moment ago. But a few comments first about the app. Remember, anyone can join the pilgrimage at any time. So if you have friends or family members or colleagues that you would encourage to consider making this journey with you, they can easily do so. And in fact, all of us can go back on past material by clicking in the Journey tab in the upper left-hand corner where it says Weeks. That way you can go back to previous material from the days ahead of where we are today. Remember that every single week we have one video introduction of the place that we'll be spending during the week. And if you swipe left after watching that video, you'll find excerpts from 2 very important Jesuit sources, the autobiography of St. Ignatius and then the Life of Ignatius by Ribadenera. These pieces are primary references for the week, and you can read them on Sundays or perhaps even repeated during the week. They don't change though. The other tabs, Today, Community, and Discover, they have a variety of content for the different days of each week during our pilgrimage. Some users are reporting difficulties in the app advancing days. Well, the simple solution is to close the app every day and then to open it, to refresh it again the next day. Doing so automatically launches the current day of the journey. Don't forget to add your petitions to our prayer wall in the Community tab. I bring those prayers to the Candlelight Mass here at Boston College weeknights at 10 p.m. at St. Joseph Chapel. But all of us can join in prayer together by adding one another's petitions to our own prayerful hearts. So it's good for you every day to take a look at that prayer wall and even to contribute to it. Also, remember that every Saturday you should share with us your total step accrual that the app has recorded. We'll combine all of those steps and report back to you each week what the entire community has done in terms of its progress along the way. We know that there have been some glitches in the app. We're doing our best to try to keep up on these technical issues, and we also know that there are a fair number of Android users who are hoping to make the pilgrimage too. For now, we've only been able to develop this app through an iOS platform, but we are investigating the option for Android too. This is a piloted program for us, so we're very glad to have you with us on the journey, and it's been very interesting for us too. Our very first app and we've been pleasantly surprised to find that people have quite an appetite for this kind of experience. That was pretty bad. You've heard from Professor Cristiano Casalini about Pamplona. Well, I want to talk to you today about the theme that accompanies Pamplona. And that theme for this week is disruption. As you heard from Cristiano, it was in Pamplona that Ignatius experienced a major interruption. Up until that moment, everything was pointing to a life seeking honor and recognition from others, to be pleasing in the eyes of others. That was his motivation, and that was the end for which he had been striving for so many years of his life. And then, boom, everything changed. Here at Boston College, there's a retreat for our freshmen called 48 Hours. And one of the presentations that the upperclassmen make for our freshmen during this retreat is for them to share with them what they call cannonball moments from their own lives. And by this, they're making reference to the explosion that Ignatius experiences in Pamplona. They share with the students moments where their lives had been interrupted, that their plans had been disrupted, even maybe radically changed because of an experience of failure or an experience of loss or some sort of difficulty that they had to endure. They talk about what it was like for them and how they grew because of those cannonball moments. For some reason, I have a hunch that this parallel of the life of Ignatius and our own lives speak to us in a very particular way these days. Do you think that we might look back on 2020 as a cannonball year? Every single one of us has experienced significant disruption, great challenge. I live with freshmen here at BC, and I'm often thinking about them and what they have experienced in the past months. The disruption of high school and its end. The disruption of preparations for coming to college. And all of the disruptions that come with the kind of care that we have to exercise because of social distancing and these sorts of things today. I bet that as you reflect upon your own lives these past months, you could add to the list of cannonball moments. Most of my prayerful intercession these months has been focused on people whom I know and whom I love, who have lost loved ones, or who have taken ill, or who have people who are close to them become very sick. The inability to comfort one another directly, to support each other in grief, in challenge, in difficulty, to be there for one another. That inability has been very painful for many of us. Still, every disruption, every cannonball moment contains within it tiny, tiny seeds of transforming grace. Now, hear this, you who have ears to listen, and know that I am not a spin doctor. I'm not trying to make these moments appear to be beautiful and good. I can't. And that would be awful in terms of how I approach people in challenge and difficulty. It would be like going to Ignatius on that battlefield and saying to him, Ignatius, this is just a blip, one that will produce much good, including the founding of the Society of Jesus. Well, not too helpful in that moment would that message be. But it's true. It's true. Here's the challenge for us to pray with during this week of journeying in Pamplona. Are you and I open to the possibility that these present moments that we are enduring, that our world is enduring, will somehow produce fruit that will last? Now, we must let disruption be real, and to let the feelings that come with disruption be real. and simultaneously to have in the back of our hearts open ears that listen for the voice of God very gently beckoning, very gently calling, very gently reassuring. Think about in Paul's letter to the Romans in chapter 8, when he says, all things work together for those who love God. Everything will converge. Everything will be okay. But that's not at all to dismiss the difficulties, the disruptions that we are facing along the way. This moment is an act of faith for us. In Christianity, things aren't always as they appear, or maybe better, there's always more than meets the eye. So much is changing for all of us, and this has been very scary. And this will bear much fruit. On our part, we keep moving forward with cannonballs flying all around us. It's crazy. These months have been crazy. And these months have been life. This is how life is for us at this time. In your random small group, and remember, you can join a random small group for the pilgrimage by clicking on the Google form that we staff members have been inserting into the community forum. Maybe this week you could share with some fellow pilgrims a cannonball moment from your own life. This week, too, you'll notice in the Discover forum that we here have a 5K virtual red bandana run. Maybe you would think about joining us virtually and posting something about your Wells Crowther red bandana run in the community forum for us. I can't wait to see you in Loyola next week. But let's pray for each other meanwhile, and let's continue to move. Let's note that this moment, these days, are important ones for us on the way, on the journey, and that we can continue to mine the experience of St. Ignatius of Loyola so that we too are led to something magnificent which is yet to come, something that eye has not seen, something that ear has not heard, but that we trust that God has in store for us. God bless everyone, and we'll see you next week.